Hi Baatar, so we've got your brand new essays, very happy to see them. Let's take a look and see what you wrote. The topic is about schools, whether they should be more entertaining or if they should simply educate. Let's take a look and see what you said. Every students who are willing to study well at school, sometimes entertainment often facilitate them to learn subjects more inspirationally. Okay, so here's the first thing. There's a number of grammatical errors in this. One of them has to do with your subject and verb agreement. So here, first of all, every is a word that needs a singular. So every student. So let me just fix it for you. Every student who is willing to study hard at school still needs entertainment because it often facilitates them to learn subjects maybe with more inspiration. Maybe it's a little not great, okay? So let's try it again one more time. Let's try to rephrase it. So every student is willing to study hard at school. However, sometimes entertainment facilitates learning subjects more easily. Okay, I think that's a good way to rephrase this. I hope you agree. It usually happens that private schools or state schools have a distinct program for students. The main purpose of school is a certain that leads to right way for studying lessons independently. Okay, you're missing a word here. Is a certain what? The main purpose of school is to lead students to the right way of studying independently. I think this is what you're trying to say, but still it's kind of rough. It is of paramount importance with a CE to instill teens who have not found themselves, no comma, to be sympathetic, no comma, and empathetic. That's not relevant. Okay? So in this whole paragraph, first of all, this last sentence did not fit at all. And then this sentence, you're not answering the question. So do you think they should just educate or do you think they should entertain? What you said was that they should teach students to study independently, but that doesn't answer either question. So I'm a little confused. Now, why is that important? Because if you look at the band descriptors for task 2, in task response at band 7, it says that you must have a clear position throughout. And so from the beginning of your essay, I don't understand what your position is, and that's a problem, okay? Let's move on to see what you did with your body paragraphs. First of all, I strongly agree that some entertainment, MENT, should be included in the school program. Students has been neglectful by being engrossed in several subjects. I don't understand that. Students' needs have been neglected by, I still don't understand this, by being engrossed in several subjects. I just don't understand. This is because I think that school administration had better domesticate entertaining events or motivate students to struggle for their will. All right, Baatar, I really don't understand the language you're using. You're trying to use good vocabulary, and I'm glad to see that, but the language you're using just doesn't carry across any meaning. Okay, so what I would suggest that you do is try to use simpler vocabulary you're comfortable with, but trying to get across the meaning, because with some of this language I just don't understand. What does it mean to domesticate entertaining events? I mean, this is the problem here, domesticate. And what does this mean? To motivate students struggle for their will. I don't understand that. You want to make students struggle? And for what will? I mean, this is very confusing. So I think it's partially a problem with vocabulary, but it's making your essay incoherent. All right, moving on to, for example, to organize the cognitive, okay, for example, organizing cognitive competitions among students and tests about the, tests the, let me try it again. For example, to organize a cognitive competition among students, test the general knowledge about world history and science, advents, etc. This is not a full sentence, okay? You're giving me a list, but a list does not make a sentence, okay? Thereby, that would be cheerful and make the conducive situation in which students want to learn more. Again, cheerful doesn't fit here, and neither does conducive, all right? So, again, having read this whole paragraph, I can tell you that the vocabulary you're using does not facilitate your meaning. Instead, it just hinders it. It doesn't help the reader understand what you're trying to say. Let's move on. On the other hand, it is certain that a lot of entertainment, not entertaining, must not be organized at school. It is supposed to come around their attitude to lessen and just turn into apathetic. Okay. I don't know. It is supposed to come around. This grammatically doesn't make sense, and in terms of the words, it doesn't make sense as well. So, must not be organized. They must, okay, I think what you're trying to say here is the students must be focused on their lessons and not become apathetic. Something like that. Considering that administrative representatives often should limit the unnecessary. This is also not a full sentence. It's just a fragment. You're missing a major part of the sentence. Okay, for instance, it is a frequent phenomenon that numerous parties, without the of, organize events. Okay. So it is a frequent phenomenon that numerous parties are organized during the terms of the year. Therefore, people look back at the main purpose of school to educate students. All right, these two ideas don't connect. If I've understood them correctly, they don't connect to each other. So there's a major problem here. In conclusion, it is such efficacy that making a progress in scientific and natural knowledge as entertaining students could be possible to facilitate for study. Too long, boresome lectures make students not interested in and then drop out the school. Okay, so Baatar, there are some really serious issues with your grammar and your vocabulary. I know that you've understood the topic. I know that you have the skeleton of what an essay should be like, and so those elements are great. But your vocabulary and your grammar make the essay pretty much incomprehensible. I mean, it's difficult to understand what you're trying to say, and as you can tell, I more or less struggled with every sentence in the essay. All right, so let's go now to your second one. Doing an enjoyable activity with a child. Okay, let's hear what you had to say about this one. To date, the reading is the best way to educate ourselves in human developmental history. Okay, no reading. No the here. So to date, reading is the best way to educate ourselves. It is of paramount importance, that's the set expression here, that books should be suited to children's age and involve, no D, the intriguing picture and plot that has been written in image and sound, maybe? I'm not really sure what you're trying to say here. Due to the fact that they are not, I don't know what you mean here. Due to they are not included, the propulsion to read again, some children avoid reading anymore. Okay, I don't know what you're trying to say, Baatar. You could have just said, since they do not have the propulsion to read again, I don't know why you're saying this. I really don't understand. Children avoid reading anymore. Thereby, they opt for enjoyable activities instead of reading. That's not the question. That's not what you're being asked to talk about. You're being asked to analyze which develops better skills, doing an enjoyable activity or reading. Okay? That's what you have to talk about. So not why children aren't reading anymore or something like that, but you really have to answer this question. All right? Moving on. On the one hand, I agree that children should enjoy amusing things that could be part of the learning process. Thereby, it would give them motivation for studying intensively. This is largely because children cannot focus, cannot is one word, focus on one thing for a long time, and they always come around to the things that surround them. For example, in Japan, most schools have a program that could give a chance to learn something by using a funny game. That is more likely that has been a unforgetfully memory in mind. All right, I don't understand that sentence at all. Even though they have grown up, it would be ever spatial awareness in the future. All right, I don't understand this either. So do you mean that even when they grow up, this would develop spatial awareness in the future? Hence, it is essential that parents domesticate. No, domesticate is the wrong word here. You used it in your other essay. Look it up to make sure that you know how to use it correctly. And to not forget about reading as well. All right, fine. On the other hand, when people are engrossed in reading the book, it can make an opportunity here, Anne, to conjure up the visualization aspects in mind. Visual, not visualization. I think that it makes a progress to creativity, which leads to open-minded. No. I think it makes a progress towards creativity, which leads to an open-minded next generation. Not only does reading develop the brain, but it also affects creativity well, more than enjoyable activities. For example, in my experience, the real page-turner novel, The Great Expectations, straightened me out and made me understand wealthy people and the underprivileged, perhaps. While reading, one uncovers real-life experience, such as misfortunes, boredom, and a gap of social status. I think these are what you're trying to say. Therefore, it relies on distinct ages whether it would be influential and creative or not. This I didn't understand. To sum up, primary schools, should be more entertaining. No. To teach subjects, I don't know why we're talking about this now. Because they imagine all the things by their toy or surroundings. All right, I don't understand this. Hence, it is necessary that adults depend on their children's age and should decide whether to concentrate on enjoyable activities or reading. Considering that every stage is different in the learning process, it is plausible to mix the methods that use enjoyment and keep reading for cognitive ability. Okay, I struggled a lot throughout the whole thing. You really need to revise this. I tried to understand what you were trying to say and correct things with my own words, but there's a lot of work you need to do in terms of your grammar and your vocabulary, okay? Correct these essays based on my feedback in this video, and then you need to correct an error correction list, an essay correction list actually, where you take the mistakes and then next to the mistakes you add my corrected version. All right, send these back to us with your new essays. Try to do this in the next day or so. What I really want you to do is revise some grammar. I'm sure you have some grammar resources, so please do refer to them. All right, I'm here. I'm waiting for your next essays, so good luck with your next writing tasks.